Hello class, happy Thursday, and welcome back to my channel for another Sunday school video. As things are starting to open back up, we at the church hope you are all starting to feel a little bit more normalcy in this crazy time. However, please make sure that you are still following social distancing guidelines and staying home unless you need food, medicine, or exercise. We all want you to stay safe and healthy so we can all be back together as soon as possible. I literally cannot wait to see all of you again. Last week, we talked about prayer and having healthy communication with God and with others. I hope you were able to find some new and healthy ways to communicate with God and with one another. I hope you're working on your memory verses, and I'm so glad to hear from some of you that you're liking the music time and the reading times I'm doing. It really helps to hear your feedback on how I can make my lessons better, so go ahead and leave down a comment down below if you feel so inclined. This week we are going to be talking about making choices. First, we are going to start off with our reading, and our reading is from Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 through 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." So one of the movies that I grew up watching that was one of my favorite movies of all time was The Wizard of Oz. And in the movie The Wizard of Oz, there is a part where Dorothy has to choose whether to go right or left on a path. The scarecrow she meets at the crossroads starts taunting her to make certain decisions, and then she no longer feels like she can make a decision on her own. Rather than seeking God for help or using her best judgment to make a good decision, she relied on the scarecrow to make her decisions for her. This situation is just like situations we get into every single day at school or work. So this situation is called peer pressure. This means that you are relying on others around you to make your decisions for you, even if you yourself don't feel 100% okay with it. When I was in school, I dealt with this a lot. I even deal with it now in college. So I can relate to you guys on your struggles 100%. To talk about peer pressure today, we have a special guest. His name is Douglas, and he is going to be talking to us about a time where he experienced peer pressure and how he learned how to make good decisions. Take it away, Douglas.
The fact that everyone's doing something does not make it a good idea. Hey guys, it's me again, Douglas, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about something called peer pressure. Now, you've probably heard that term, peer pressure, and it basically just means doing what everybody else is doing just because, well, everyone else is doing it. Now, peer pressure isn't always a bad thing. You can have positive peer pressure. I've got some friends at my school, and they're really smart, and they get really good grades. And after I started hanging out with them, I kind of started getting better grades too, because their study habits kind of became my study habits. But there are a lot of times where people are doing something, even if it's a lot of people that are doing something, and it's not a good thing. So the other day I was at the playground, and there were a whole bunch of kids, and they were all jumping off of the jungle gym, really high up. They were jumping down from a really tall jungle gym. And I watched probably 8 or 10 kids jump off of this jungle gym. And I knew that looked like a really bad idea, like I was gonna bust my leg, but I thought, well, all these other kids are doing it, so it must be okay. So I climbed up on the jungle gym, and I jumped off, and yeah, busted my leg really good. I had to walk around on crutches for like a month. And I had seen all these other kids doing it, and they were fine, but it did not turn out okay for me. And I knew that it looked like a bad idea, right? I did not think that this was a good idea, but I did it anyways, because that's what everybody else was doing. In the Bible, God says that we should not conform to the pattern of this world, but that we should be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And basically what that's saying is that we shouldn't just, always go with the flow and always do what everybody else is doing, because if you never make your own decisions, if you just do what everybody else is doing, eventually you're going to get pretty busted up, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. You see, God wants us to make wise decisions. And a big part of that is, well, making decisions and not just doing what everybody else is doing. So my challenge to you guys today is this. It's that next time you see a whole bunch of people doing something and you think that that's probably a bad idea, pay attention. God wants us to make decisions based on what we know to be true and what God tells us to do. He doesn't want us to just do what everybody else is doing. He wants us to live for him. And the other part of this challenge is, God wants us to make our own decisions based on what he tells us to do and what we know to be right. But I think it's also a really good idea to surround ourselves with friends who are doing what is right also. That way, any peer pressure in our lives is positive peer pressure that helps us to grow. So we should find friends that help us, not hurt us. So let's all do our best to not just go with the flow and not just do what the crowd is doing, but to live God's way.
Thanks, Douglas. You had a lot of really good things to say, and we really enjoyed your story. Can some of you relate to what Douglas went through on the playground? What did he say about what God wants us to do in this situation? What's the difference between negative and positive peer pressure? Go ahead and pause the video and jot down your thoughts on this or discuss it with your families. We'll be right back. So, in this hard situation, Douglas learned that just because everyone else around him is doing something doesn't mean it's the right choice to make. Douglas learned that seeking God's will first before you make a big decision is what will keep him out of the most trouble. There are a lot of people out there that will constantly be talking to you to try to get you to make decisions you don't want to make. The older you get, the more often that this happens. Don't let them. I know this is easier said than done, but the best way to keep you safe and happy is to seek God's will in every decision you make. Douglas also talked about the difference between positive and negative peer pressure. There can be positive peer pressure. So when you surround yourself around people who are healthy for you, who are healthy for your mental health, who are healthy for your walk with God, that will then reflect on you and you will be healthier as well. If you surround yourself with negative pressure all around you and negative influences and things that you don't feel is right, then it's going to make you feel icky inside. It's going to make you feel negative, and it's not going to make you feel okay in your own personal life with your mental health or with God. I personally have been going through this myself, and I want to take this opportunity to be fully transparent and let you all know that I am here for you. And if you have any questions about this or just want to talk to me about this and something else you're going through, please don't be afraid and don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay, so now we're going to be doing a little craft, and it's just going to teach you about how you are super special in God's eyes, and He made you 100% super special. So please don't be afraid to embrace that in life and be different than everybody else. And if you don't feel comfortable making a decision, go ahead and be different than everybody else and be special and do what you think is right for you and is right for God. Okay, so for our craft today, we're going to see our fingerprints. And now, normally you would do this with a piece of paper and an ink pad. So if you have an ink pad, like for stamps or something like that, definitely go ahead and use that. But for now, since I don't have an ink pad at home, I'm going to go ahead and just use a lead pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color a big spot on my piece of paper like this and make a lot of buildup of lead. Okay, there you go. And then make sure you're not way too long so that way you can get a really good print. I'm going to just press down on it a little bit. Okay, and that's what it should look like. And you can even see my fingerprint just doing that right there. And let's see if we can get a good print on our piece of paper. And there you go. You can kind of see my fingerprint right there. God has made each and every single one of you very special and different. So He has given you the ability to choose to do the right things and the wrong things too. With this craft, I just encourage you all to be as special as your fingerprint and to do the right things even if everybody else is doing a different thing. This week's memory verse comes from Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." Y'all know what time it is. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but I know that one wasn't my best, but I tried really hard to make a cool song out of that one, so I hope you can appreciate my effort. Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me for another lesson this week. I'll try to stay on schedule next week. Sorry about posting a day late this week, but I'll try my best to be on schedule next week. Hold me accountable. I love you guys, and God bless, and I hope you have a great week.